Good evening. Well, good evening where you are, good afternoon where I am, and welcome to TalkSports, our weekly sports program where we discuss and chat with the movers and shakers in sports, the sportsmen, sportswomen, administrators, coaches, whoever involved in sports. On this week's program, we'll be speaking about club sports, this time track and field, and one of the local clubs in Grenada, that's Rising Stars Club. Uh, some months ago, I should say, we spoke about the Rising Stars Club and some of the outstanding athletes who pretty much unknown, I should say, in terms of the club. Yes, the club they are coming from, but they have been making their marks representing Grenada, and some of them now, you know, par to do things great. So we'll be speaking about the Rising Stars Club. We'll hear all about the club itself, how it started, and the people behind the club, and some of the plans for the club, especially looking forward to the 2022 season. Our guest on this evening's program and representing Rising Stars Club is Lee Cuffie. Lee is a coach with Rising Stars Club, and Lee will tell us all about what's happening with the Rising Star Club. Let me introduce Lee to our program this evening. Good evening to you, Lee.
Pleasant good evening, Mr. Bascom. And it's always an honor to
Right.
be, host at your show. I really appreciate the invite you give to me
Mhm.
so I can shed some light as it relates to the club and competition for the 2021-2022 track season moving forward.
Well, it's always a pleasure speaking to you and speaking to others regarding the club sports. I like to talk about club sports in particular. Rising Stars Club, no doubt, and following some of the athletes is always intriguing to know what has been happening with the club, and the opportunity would be yours to give us an insight into the start of the club, how it has been functioning, how it is going, and the prospects for the 2022 season. So first of all, let's hear something about Rising Stars Club, Lee. How it started, how long it has started, and who are the folks behind the club?
All right. So, like I always say, dated back to like 2013, 2014, thereabout. Because of the lack of proper structure towards school systems. And we saw that young aspiring athletes had that burning desire to move on and do a little more than what is offered by the basic school curriculum. I decided to take the initiative to put forward a track club in which kids with such ability, and talent can harness and develop the, the ability there. So it started off with myself as the head coach, Mr. Nicholas Benjamin and Kevin James, which I always say, where I had the self responsibility as the track coach. We had James in the drums and Mr. Benjamin in the throws. And the very first time we put this thing together, we started seeing the results. We saw the enthusiasm of the athletes, to to participate. And we say, here's what? Well, we're doing something positive. We continue with it. And then year after year, we keep getting better and better results. And there's nothing more rewarding when you put efforts out there, young people, or anything you do, and you're getting results. I think that is like a check that is being signed back from what you would have invested in terms of your time, your skills into this young ones. Yeah.
Hmm. And you say that so, and it'd be interested for us to know also some of the athletes who started with the club when it started. By the way, what year in particular you started?
So about say 2014,
So,
officially. Yeah, 2014
mhm.
officially. Yeah. And some of these athletes, as you mentioned, you heard of the recent Gamali Felix, who is making a lot of headway in Grenada track and field. currently has the second best time as Grenadian over the 400 meter behind the great Tyron James in terms of ranking for 2021. He's already making strides in the United States. Recently came back from the Pan American Games, that is in Colombia, Cali, where he got the fourth place, running out of lane 80. He made a very remarkable performance. Seeing to also that it wasn't his peak period in terms of competition. December is a time where you're just trying to get prepared. And he went there and he gave a very good account of himself. So great strides. We have his brother Gamali Felix, who is getting into the Indo competition too. He's out there in New Mexico. Is one of the great 400-meter runners too as well, came from my organization. We have Nathaniel Mack, who is in Coupon State. He into a new school as well. We have Nicholas Stansklaas, who is doing very well. He's out there, I think it's Vincennes University. It's somewhere, I can't remember the state, but he's out there doing his stuff. He's into like the pole vault and the deck event. We have people like Joshua Bowen, who passed through the ranks too as well. He's out there in the deck decathlon as well. We have Rico Moultrie, who is out there as well. I think he's in Kansas, I believe. Maybe, Kansas. I don't think I leave out anyone, but those are the main bulk who is out there in the United States circuit, who's basically flying the flag very high for Grenada and also the club, South City Rising Star. Very good job. Yeah.
Well, you seems to have a very good array of athletes and those who are also coming up. I am certain you would like to let us know of some of the athletes that we can keep an eye on. We know of national championships in a matter of days, and certainly athletes looking forward to a full calendar of events locally. So, who are some of the athletes from Rising Stars Club that we should be keeping an eye on?
All right, yeah, definitely. There is the whole thing with this thing is about building. So athletes move on. When they move on, yes, they pay the due respect when they return to Grenada in my care, just the same. So yes, but building is very important. You want to ensure there is a continuity in terms of what you do. And locally, we have one of the top sprinters here locally in the name of Akel Francis. He's still at the character age, and you can expect some good things from him in the 100 and the 200 come national championship. He's a very smooth runner, pretty short, but has very what you consider very quick like turnovers. So that is someone you can look for in the 100 and 200 meter. Akel Francis. In the exploits of the distance, we have Tyron Jacob, who has been on the circuit leading Grenada as it relates to distance running over there in the past few years. Been doing a very, very good job representing Grenada in various Caribbean countries and so on and so forth. He's one of the top distance runners. So we can look forward towards great and improved performance in 800, 1500, 5000, definitely is one to look towards in terms of performance and stuff. We have a new kid on the block. Actually, he's from my village, Vincent in St. David's. His name is Kyle Victor. We call him Grimy. Well, the funny thing about this guy, he came from a distant background, running distance. And I look at his build, his coordination was a bit poor, but I look at his build and structure. And although the leg speed wasn't where it should be, but I saw potential in 400. And 400 is an event I somewhat like coaching. So I decided to mix it up a bit with the distance and blend in the speed a bit. And so far, he's taken up very, very, very well, And I think for a new kid just coming up, he's only 17. He's within the character ranks too. Attends the Grenada Boys Secondary School. And I think that's one you can look forward in the 400 and also the 800 meter for the championship. He's a new kid, Much may not know about him, but in this club, we have a tendency of just busting new athletes, we break them out. New artists, we have a tendency of doing that. We have people like Cornell Pierre, who is good, but I mean they're not that consistent with the training because we know what went on with the coronavirus. We have Jamal Noel, who took a long break, but he's trying to make himself back into the ranks. We have Lyndon George in the 400. He's looking pretty steady, as well. Then one of the main one, which we already know and discuss, is actually Shafona Houston. Houston is poised to do some very great things. She actually broke the record in her sports in shot put. I'm saying when you train athletes and they train properly, strength, coordination, and everything, or the biomotor abilities that involved in training, they can go out there and take part in almost anything and do a fairly good job. So she already stamped her presidents, let them know that you can expect great things from her by going out there and doing a good job, sports in the shot put, and was able to win that event and breaking the record in the process. Well, we already know her exploits is more lies within the 800, 400. She's a good 200-meter runner too as well. But I see great things in the 800, the 400. She's not badly off in the 100. However, we have to be very tactical in terms of the events in which you take part, looking at the category, because she's just moving up into the under 17 category. So she'll be running against girls who is stronger, so older in most cases. So I'm looking at the options as the season unfolds. We will determine, what will be, best suited. It's still too young for specializing, so we're trying to explore different things. But yeah, definitely, those are some of the athletes you can look forward to as relates to the track, in the upcoming season. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned about Shaffonia Houston because it's probably the first female you have mentioned in the list of athletes because so many of it was almost a male-dominated segment, and I'm glad you mentioned that. And particularly seems to be is she, and if you can just stay on up for just a moment, is she multi-event athlete? Because you talk about the 800, the 1500, well, the 800, sort of middle distance running, and then also it appears to be in the throws as well.
Well, yes, she seems to have that ability. She's strong, very strong, and she is to attempt the multi-event. I think she will do very well in those events. In fact, her very first exposure to international competition was that of the pentathlon, where she represented Grenada in El Salvador. She didn't get the best results, but at being age, I think was maybe 12 at the time, 11, 12, or one of the cases somewhere, but she was very, very young. At that age, having to travel out there, I wasn't there as a coach to accompany her, being timid, the new environment, so on and so forth. But she always showed that she had the potential to do, other events. But we already know that her main exploits will be in that of the mid-sprint distance events.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, well, it's good to know. I'm not phased about the inexperience. It's good to know when those athletes at a very young age are exposed, and they start getting the feeling. It's similar to the Kirani James, for example, who started competing at the CUT games. All these sort of things. All age group championships and things. So it's good to know that she's getting that at a very early age. By the way, any challenges that your club faced during that whole pandemic? And I'm saying during the pandemic because, as far as I'm concerned, we are now in the endemic stage because we have to be living with what's existing now. So, what sort of challenges your club faced during the pandemic in terms of training and getting athletes to be disciplined enough to come out and train, to maintain their fitness and their competition readiness?
Uh, I think
Okay. Yeah.
yeah. Am I losing you a bit? Am I losing you a bit?
Well,
I think the Wi-Fi dropped. Are you there?
okay. No. Well, you on? Yeah, you on? Yeah. You heard the question?
I'm on.
Yeah. Yeah. You on? But have you heard the question I asked you?
Yes, yes. I heard the question. I heard the question.
Right.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, definitely. It has been a very, very testing and challenging time for myself as a coach, even
Mhm.
the athletes, and so to even the parents, of the athletes, to mobilize the athletes and keep them in that positive frame of mind to compete. First and foremost, the very first challenge we had was the protocols they have established, with the training. The very first one, when they had the initial lockdown, we are limited in terms of moving. So yeah, we couldn't even move to get the training. So one way we used, one thing I implemented to combat that situation was, we had our chat group, so we're able to pass around information as relates to training on what they can do. But we all know when you're dealing with a bunch of youngsters who may not have that sort of maybe guidance and know what they really want, it can be a little challenging. You may give the work, but there's no guarantee that it will be fulfilled, right? So that was the very first thing. Then the next thing we had was the amount of people they allowed in training. So if you're running a club that have maybe 30 plus people and they tell you you can only be with 6 people at a time in training, it becomes a lot more challenging because now, if everyone wants to come, how do we choose who should and who shouldn't be? Unless if we probably allocate days and people come on specific days, so on and so forth. But that has been a great challenge. Then added to that, the fact that we were more or less in a limbo, we didn't know what is going to happen. So you as a coach and as a leader, you have to be, someone out of this world to put it together, to motivate, people. You just show them, well, here's what, despite how dark it may appear, you know that behind every bad situation, something good can emerge from it. You may see darkness through the tunnel, but some way you keep trotting, you will find light eventually. And those are the type of phrase I've been using with them because at times you just there, it's like, well, coach, when will we get out of this pandemic? What will happen? Will we be able to compete? When will we be able to compete? Those are the questions. What about the vaccine? There's so much. And then I mean, you for yourself, you're confused because you basically dealing with a situation that is more or less conflicted, contradicting too, and every day things is changing. Today we up here, tomorrow we down. So it became is like you don't want to give them misleading information. So for that reason, it's been very, very, very challenging. But what I can tell you, for the ones who have a passion, very burning passion and desire for track and field, those are the ones that remain and did what they have to do as it relates to training and ensuring that, okay, the fitness is being maintained. Now, then you as a coach, you got to be smart in terms of how, so that was some of the challenge because you're training, you don't know when there will be a competition. So you don't want to be going and having your kids working out hard and intense and you don't know what's going to happen. So more than likely, you stay within certain parameters and as time goes along, you try to follow what is going on with the world, the possibility of where they may or may not be met, and you try to work within their lines. But the most important aspect was trying to keep them in there mentally, right? Apart from the physical, because we all know sports is basically 70% mental and 30% physical. So once they're mentally in tune with things or in sync with stuff, it was easy for those who basically have the burning desire to keep them on that track. So right now, I know that, as I say, like the land has been unleashed. Those people or those athletes who finally getting a taste or sense of competition, what I can tell you is that there's a burning desire to go there and eat up the track. Yeah.
Well, talking about a burning desire, talking about passion for track and field, one such person is Mike Batiste. And I say good evening to you, Mike. I am, Mike is a bit involved, well, a lot involved in its track and field and to an extent the Rising Stars Club and others, and certainly I wanted to thank Mike for his passion in track and field. And, probably a lone voice, I should say, a lone voice in the wilderness regarding um, iterating some of the wrongs that we see in track and field. Something we'll come back to discuss in a while because it can shape it can shape the future of your club going forward because it's track and field centric, and no doubt that will be important. But as a coach, Lee, are you concerned about the BNS? And when I say BNS, to some extent, of quality athletes, having quality athletes, whether it's in the 400, 100, yes, your club upcoming, and you have identified a number of athletes. But in terms of the quality athletes representing Grenada, or they're representing Grenada, in the footstep, and I should say in the immediate footstep of a Kirani James, because as we know, and if for some reason Kirani retires, who replaces Kirani right away? So I'm referring to a bienist. As they say, the cupboard is bare. Are you concerned that we actually, as Grenada, and one where the world had looked upon Grenada as the manufacturing 400 meters runners, that we have probably, you know, kissed the butt?
Well, yes, definitely. I have a great concern as it relates to who may take up the mantle. We have the capability, to fill that void or that gap should in case the King James decide to say, "Well, I'm going to call it a day." You know, um, what I can tell you is that we definitely have the talent, right? The talent here as it relates to the athletes who can move to that next level. For example, we spoke of Gamali Felix. You have seen Junior Charles. You have seen the Code Modest, right? Just to name a few. You have Gamali Felix, the people coming up in the ranks. There are quite a few, and then some young aspiring ones that is actually in the making. And you can see definitely there's something special about the 400 as relates to Grenada. But just being special is not enough. No, the question is, what do you do when you have these such beautiful talents being identified? How do you nurture? How do you process? How do you get them to the next level? And from me, I can say from a coaching standpoint, I'm doing as much as I can, with the little people that I'm entrusted with to move them to that next level, whereby we can see more Olympians, that can take Grenada on that level and keep carrying the banner, flag that we so proudly speak of. However, the coaches can only do so much. Remember, a structure and a proper structure has to be formulated and put in place in order for you to reach such magnitude. The support, you talk about nutrition, you talk about injuries. I mean, athletes do get injured. Therapy, what happens when, how about those who may have maybe social problems, social issues, counseling, all these, you need to take into consideration. But we have a system here whereby in most cases, we into the hype. We are all for the hype. We bust our athletes and we're in for the hype. But the important question is, what do we do in the nurturing process? It's like, you're bringing up a plant. A plant, some may just throw a seed, you may germinate, you may get yield. But if you want to get your best yield for all of your plants, then it needs proper supervision, proper caring, proper nurturing, so that when you reach the maturity stage, you can reap the benefits from it, but not wanting to reap without actually putting the right measures in place and think it's just going to happen. And then when it doesn't happen, then you come back to blame probably the basic man who's trying to make things happen. But the question is, where is the support? We need the support. And when we say support, yes, we talk about finance and stuff, but not just about finance alone, but we talk about all the other aspects of it that will come together that can put coaches, clubs, athletes, and all the administration in the most and best favorable position and situation, so that the talents which we do identify they can move to the next level. And then we can speak of filling the void or filling that gap should in case King Kirani call it a day. So we have people stepping up in the pipeline. Yeah.
Well, I thank you for your response, but please know that on this program, we don't try to be diplomats. You say it as it is, okay? Leave diplomacy for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, etc., for the embassies, whatever. Don't try to be diplomatic. Say it as it is, okay? But it fair enough in terms of responding. But at the same time, we do have some other athletes who are out there. We know the likes of Nazio John, for example, Hali Hazard, and you raise some important issues there, but because it has to do with the sort of support. It's not just, as you say, the hype. Everyone tried to get into the hooray at the moment, and 473 and the flag and blah 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 and things like that. But the important aspects are missing in terms of the support, as you said, not just financial support. Athletes need nutrition, therapy, etc., etc. Where is the support system? And I make that point too because I realize that the Grenada Athletic Association, one, and possibly other sporting associations in Grenada, do not have that sort of support system in place where athletes, and when I say athletes, I'm talking in general, their constituents can rely on some level of support. It could be counseling, for example. We have had athletes who have had problems, and some of them, because of the problems, they fell through the crack. They gave up track and field. I was speaking to one a few days ago who moved from track and field to football, for example, you know, because says if something happens, there seems to be a better support in football. There's more attention in football. There's more this in football. So it appears that for track and field, and probably they have a lot of work to do in terms of a support system. It's not just about representation, but how about having a support system so that if an athlete has a problem, there is counseling aspect, there is this aspect, there is this aspect, and things like that. So, and Lee, I make that point because you're preying on the whole issue of support. You know, um, a new club, and I say new in the context of others who have been there before, probably less than 10 years old, and many challenges your club facing, and one of it also probably has to do with sponsorship and some level of support, etc., etc. So how do you go about getting that level of support? And again, I'm saying, Lee, avoid avoid the diplomatic talk. Be as frank as possible. Oh, I think yeah, we have a slight delay. So
Okay.
yeah, go ahead.
Right. Okay. So I'll tell you. Got you there?
Yes, I'm there.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But in terms of support, as relates to say probably the ministry or any of the sporting bodies, or they be probably the GA or whatever, there's no really support, I would say, that's coming from them per se. As I say, it's not just about the money aspect of it, but you need people on the ground. You need to come see what's going on with the athletes, the training. You can ask a question, how you doing? You send personnel, just having a representative from these association coming by and see what's up is good. What I do notice though, when it comes to probably maybe trips and going, it's good. That aspect of it is where you will see probably most of them show a lot of interest. But as I say, the support which we're supposed to be getting, be it from the GA, probably the Ministry of Sports, or the GOC, or what the case is, there's no support. I wouldn't put my mouth in body to speak. I say it as I say, I say it as it is. There's no support, of that nature. But what I did notice from a few of them coming from meeting, they did mention that the sort of support which we may be looking for, or what the case is, is not their responsibility really. Their responsibility to be more like facilitators. So for instance, if there's a meet, or they help, they facilitate this and facilitate. But in terms of help, they don't really put out themselves where that is concerned. So with that saying, I already know that we will have to seek our own interests in terms of maybe organizing sponsorship or trying to get the help which we need, moving forward. In the past, we had some people on board, some interesting parents who had kids who've been training. We have an understanding in society. So we were able to travel, to compete outside of Grenada. And at each time we went out there and compete, we came back with very, very, very good results. As I say, like we went to Trinidad, we had Bastaldo winning gold in 1500 meter and Nathaniel Mack in the 200 meter in the Hamptons International Games. The next year we went into the senior championship, and Waters got a bronze medal in the B finals among the big guys in the 200 meter, and we were able to capture the bronze medal in the 4x1, right? And I just with just little support, just little support. So as I say, as it relates to support, there's little, not much happens, and I think if they see young people taking up the mantle and the initiative, to do such things, I think they can do better than that. Yeah, I firmly believe they can do better.
Wow. So, well, sorry to hear that, and well, hoping it appears now that you're probably, you're self-financed, self-supported, which is not bad to an extent in terms of you taking the initiative and not, just giving up. Because I guess as much others may just give up, realizing that there's no support and just give in and give up. But it's good to know that. But what are some of the, if you can identify, I know you sort of paraphrased a while ago, but identify some of the areas in particular that Rising Stars Club rather, are in need of.
Well, as it relates to equipment, I think they did an okay job there because there's a container in canteen, right, where they make accessibility, so we able to use some of the equipment now and then. But in terms of the kind of support we will definitely need will be, well, financially, because I mean you need funds to move around as a club. From time to time, you got to go to meets and stuff. There's certain things you have to take care of. So financially, I think that would be the main area that needs crucial attention. So the athletes in a sense now can be very comfortable, because not everyone may have the means as it relates to maybe having all the training gears, maybe the spikes, the sneakers, even the nutrition at certain times, and also therapy care and stuff like that. I mean, I don't have much injured people on board, but in case something happens, to take care of the athletes there is a huge cost. You can't go to the therapist and say, well, I have some athletes, they're looking good and they're looking promising, so see what you could do for me. You have to come with your dollars. So most times these expenses as relates to maybe spikes, even some of them who may not have like even funds maybe to move from A to B at certain times. So the little I have, sometimes I take it up on my own mantle, to assist them with, right? If not, when it comes to like injuries and if they have something they have to take care of by the therapist, in most cases the parents will take up that mantle, and in some cases, the school, based on the school they from and the relationship I may have, or maybe the student may have with the people at the school, they may assist with that capacity. But as I say, as it relates to the immediate needs, I think that would be the most pressing thing, at the moment. Yeah.
Wow. It's a real struggle. It's a real struggle, Lee, and I want to thank you and your club for staying put because I know the club is young people or youth centric, and it's good to know that you're not giving up. You and the folks are not giving up, and you all are sticking to it and providing at least something for those kids. Let me get some comments here. Mike Batiste is saying there is a problem here where some key people are only there for the end product. They don't try to help when things are in their infancy and developing. Last year at national championships, a young girl from another club had to run a 200 meters, which she won barefooted. Haven't seen her compete since. I mean, in this day and age, Mike, sorry to hear that. I mean, in terms of what you saw or experienced, but it's sad to know in this day and age, we have, kids that's running barefooted at even our national championships, sad to hear that. Something we may have to do, folks, in the diaspora in terms of ensuring that, those clubs and them have those running shoes. Here's a question for you. What changes would you like to see within Grenada Athletes as organization? So basically within the Grenada Athletics Association. The question to you, what changes would you like to see within the Grenada Athletics Association?
Okay. Well, all I can say, recently they had an election. They appointed a new president, that's Mr. Conrad Francis. Now, change of person, but is sometimes good. But if there's a change and the correct attitude hasn't been adapted, then the change in itself will not manifest itself in the way in which it should. However, Mr. Francis, is an experienced man. He's been around for a long time. So I'm hoping with the change in leadership that we see a lot different as it relates to the Grenada Athletic Association, how they manage things, how they structure, and how they spread the resources, so on, and so on, right? Um, I would like to see they take a different approach, Mr. Sylvian, as it relates to how they interact with all of the clubs, that goes out there and showing that interest and enthusiasm to develop young talents. I want them to get down to the ground, meet even the understand personnel, figure out, what are the challenges we as coaches, even clubs face on that side there. And even if they can meet you all the way, but there's a little hand, carries, a long way. It means a lot. So I'm hoping that with the new change, not just to say where we hold in a position, but we have to have a position and be effective in it. So that is something I would like to see, going forward.
Mhm. All right. Alana John, who is the mother of Nazio John, is saying, Michael, I'm so glad that you mentioned the counseling aspect of the sport. A lot of people do not think about the mental strain track can have on an athlete. We always look at the physical part of it. The athlete's mental state needs to be taken into consideration. There are a lot of athletes who give up because no one was there to give them the help needed when they needed it. She further stated that Nazio will be coming down, well, meaning to Grenada. He's hoping to run a relay with Akil and possibly some of the other guys in the hopes of forming a relay team for Carifta Games 2022, which will be staged in
Great. We definitely
Jamaica. Mhm.
Jamaica. Yeah, we definitely looking towards a good night, Ms. John, and we definitely looking to see your son in competition. Very good talent. His dad, his coach, is doing a fantastic job. You must commend him to have at least at that age running. At that time, that is significant. And definitely, yes, the mental aspect is key. Sometimes we place so much emphasis on the physical that we forget that mentally it has to be in sync as well. And I'm glad that you would have reiterated, and that point. And yes, we look forward to having him with people like, Akel, even there's good athletes at PBC, Rikeli Telemax, and there's another one, Samuel Green, who's running pretty good, at the moment. So then you have others that probably just fell apart, because of the same corona. People like Tigger, Peter King, and everybody hoping, that they could pull themselves together, quickly, and we could formulate something decent. Yeah.
Okay. And we noticed that in the long run, and when we look at the age group, we have a cadre of athletes, if probably nurtured properly, if the support system is there, as all that we are talking about, and not just people waiting for the end result or the end product, as Mike Batiste has been saying. We have a number of athletes who are performing well in Jamaica as well. And, if things are in place and the necessary support, etc., that things could be, bright in terms of, future for Grenada in terms of track and field, I should say.
Yes, correct. And rightfully said, and we have a nice crop of athletes out there in Jamaica, who's basically capitalizing on the exploits of some of the good coaches and the structure which they have in Jamaica. And like I'll always say, Jamaica, they're very good in terms of what they do, because they take it seriously. There is support from the committee, the government, there's good support. And as I say, we're something that binds together, for one purpose. You tend to get the sort of fruits, which you expect to generate from it. So it's good for Grenada, that we have people out there that, actually in training camps and basically represent us well come character 2022. And the fact that the character games will be in Jamaica is even better, as it relates to probably transport cost for airfare. They're already there, so it's a matter of just joining the team. So yeah, we welcome that.
Mm-hmm. As we look at that was some footage of the training, of your training, right?
Yeah, basically, yeah, footage of training that was yesterday. Just doing a few strides. Yeah.
Lots of young kids participating in that's from your club, right? Rising Stars, right?
Yes, yeah, that's all right. And that's just a few, because everyone, they don't come the same day, based on the commitment through school, a location, so they're just a few, but together we probably have roughly about probably 35 people in training. Yeah.
So that's why I was talking about the discipline in terms of getting these athletes to come out and to train. Okay, but it appears that for now you're getting good participation.
Great. Yes. Yeah. It been challenging initially, but as I said, now that the season starts to unfold a bit, GBS has running off a few of the small cross countries. People starting to get into the competition frame of mind. And even today, coming from the presentation brothers college and sports, many kids, they're reaching out to me, Mr. Cuffie. The same thing I'm saying. Once you get the little support, some form of motivation, you'll be encouraged to go there and do stuff. So they get a little beating, a little flute, and they hold a adrenaline at the pump. It's there.
Mm-hmm. We're having a little connection issue with Lee. As soon as he's back, we will continue the discussion. Um, but it's quite interesting to hear that, and from what Lee is saying, and disturbing to an extent as well, because you know not knowing that so much is happening and so much not happening as well, you know, and these guys are trying to make something good and in some instances better, but there's not that level of support they are getting, and it's sort of sad. But what can we do? I know we'll just have to see in whichever way we can support, or continue to support them more or less. Um, you know, Somehow we will probably, see how we can support or continue to support these guys because the effort they are making, you know, is commendable. It's a commendable effort, Once we've seen the video and the photos of these young people, they may be the superstars of tomorrow. So why not give them the support that is needed? And there is, as Lee returns and he joins us once again, there one question here for you. Have you, as a coach or organization, reached out to the Grenada Athletics Association for any help or assistance, Lee?
Well, I have not reached out directly, but I know once we spoke right from a meeting, and as I relate earlier, we spoke of helping like the clubs. I know we threw the idea out that they need to help clubs probably financially or what they can do, and the statement that was returned is that it's not their role or responsibility to finance club or probably like help them in that way. The more is to facilitate, like if there's a meet or they have to go, like the club have to travel, they write to the GA for notifying them that they've been out. So they have they act as facilitators and not, of that nature. So, once you would have gotten that sort of response, you tell yourself it's basically is more like a deterrence. It's saying, okay, even when you come, you ask, is like no, So
Mhm.
I for myself have not reached out, to the association directly and go and say, okay, look, I did this and did that. No.
Uh, all right. Here it is again. Lana say, Mr. Cuffie, I know it was hard on the local athletes to stay in shape and to try and stay positive during the pandemic. How prepared are the athletes for national champs?
Okay, very good question, a very timely question. Now I can take this from different angles. How prepared are the athletes? We talk about preparation, physical and mental. Now, for the athletes who would have been in training and following the training regimen consistently, their readiness in terms of the physical preparation and mental preparation will be given an A, excellence in terms of readiness for that competition. However, because now we have a new development as it relates to the opening of the sports season and school sports and so on and so forth, you'll find yourself in a situation whereby you have a contingent of athletes who want to compete because they're longing for competition, but because they didn't know what was going on, they didn't have the motivation and something have the drive to continue training in the midst of the pandemic. However, they still have a desire for sports, track and field and competing. So they will come in, but what will happen is that they may not be as mentally prepared and physically prepared. So it's a lot of mixed emotions here and probably mixed results you can expect, right, going into national championship. However, for the ones who have been serious about it and been under my banner and been preparing for that major championship, I would say that they quite prepared physically and mentally going into it.
Okay. Interesting to hear. And I'm certain that, your athletes in particular are also ready for the challenge. You spoke about the presentation Brothers College Sports Meet um, today as Thursday, right?
Yes, correct.
Oh, it was held today. Okay. Um, Here it is, Mr. Coffee. We are hearing about the intercall, and I am also hearing of the return of Mr. Benjamin to the GBSS. Is that well? I can't understand. Sorry, I can't understand the question. I don't know what's the question. We're hearing about the intercall. I guess as much. What you hearing about the intercall?
All right. So two questions there. One. Right. Basically, what should I answer this? Well, as it relates to Mr. Benjamin, yes, the coach along with myself, at the Grenada Boys Secondary School. Yes, Mr. Benjamin's situation was successful. So yes, definitely he will be back on board. He should be back on board, performing his active duties as coach. His exploits is basically in the field events, and definitely yes, he'll be on board. Now, as it relates to the intercall games. The intercall games. This is something that has been in the streamline for a pretty long time. And as you can see, they say when you see smoke, you can look out for fire. Now, what I can tell you, the fact that you see most schools are doing the heats, and along with the cross-country runs, and also you see Presentation Brothers have their sports, and a lot of schools will be follow suiting as well. So with that being said, there's a very high possibility that the intercall games will happen 2022. That is as much as I can say. I haven't had any confirmation, but what I know that there is a date on the calendar scheduled for sometime between, I think, the 8th and 9th of April. Yeah.
So you get the feeling that folks in Grenada, and particularly the schools, because I know track and field is mainly school-based in Grenada, as the case in Jamaica and some of the other islands, you get in the feeling that we are returning to the groove. We are getting back into the groove of competition locally.
Yeah, definitely. I'm smelling that in the air, but there's a lot of mixed feelings about it. Coming from different institutions. Especially the ones that they have the ego as it relates to competing well. Because some may see it as it could be a favorable situation for others who probably had an idea of it earlier in the making and having proper preparations, probably have the athlete stream through. So some may see it as a sabotage, for probably less favorable schools to perform maybe, at a level where they could more or less maybe dethrone certain schools. I'm just saying, it's a wide open thing. So you have mixed feelings about it, but I'm smelling that in the air, and you can hear, the jump corps start striking up, the PVC, the GBSS, the jump corps, you can see the enthusiasm on the guy's face, the teachers are getting involved, and you can smell that, the eagerness for some sort of battle, is right in the making. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And after some years, well, I mean, prior to COVID, we know what happened in terms of with the teachers, etc., etc. And then COVID compounded that, so it has been a while now. We have not seen competitive school sports and intercall in particular. In fact, there are some athletes who have been in secondary school, have gone to secondary school for probably 3 years and have not competed in intercall as yet as athletes. They have not competed in the intercall championships as yet. And you're aware of that, right?
I'm pretty much aware of that. So one of the good athletes, Shanti Augustine, right, came into the system from since Form 1, very good, and right, she's in Form 4 now. Next year she goes to Form 5. She hasn't had intercall games as yet. So I think people like that, they will be very enthusiastic as it relates to competing, at the intercall games. Yeah.
Sort of sad, but it's sad, but it's also good to know that these athletes maintain their focus. Others may have just go through, forget about track and field. But I guess as much with the support of family and things like that, so parents in particular, that Shanti, among others, have just stayed focused, Yeah. Tell me what you're looking forward to Rising Stars Club for the 2022 season, starting with the national champs in a few days.
Okay, well, the expectations are pretty simple. I mean, going into a national championship is about times and making qualification, standards. So I thought the standards they're pretty reasonable, but for some people it would be a huge task because they haven't been in proper preparation. But I'm looking forward to attain some people getting the standards, so they can earn their spot. And even if they don't attain the standard, but if they get close to it as possible, they can be considered, so they can go on and represent Grenada into this prestigious character games 2022. So those are some of my main expectations. As we do note that yes, because of the coronavirus, the pandemic, we may have a reduction in terms of participation as relates to people who could potentially make that standard. Because character, you're talking about the best games in the world, junior games in the world, as it relates to performance and stuff like that. So it's no washed up thing. So it tells you, if you have to have athletes that can attain the standards, it could be some of the best in the world too. So the point I'm trying to make is that while we look forward towards athletes attaining the standards, we may get a few, but there's a lot more that probably could have made it, probably if they stayed and had follow through with the training as it should. But we'll see what happens when the time comes.
Yeah, well, we look forward to that as well. And all the best, Lee and company. And just before you go, give us a sort of idea of the structure of the Rising Stars Club, yourself and the others, and sort of the administrative aspect of the club, how it's run.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah. Basically, I function as the sole coach. Currently, at the moment, we have Mike Batiste. As I said, I mean, we cannot ask for more. Mike, does an extremely good job. He lent his time and his services, his expertise and stuff as it relates to pulling the club together, the administrative aspect. When there is a meet, you liaise with the GA and stuff. So a lot of times I don't directly interfere with them things, and then he's the one that gets the information and you pass it on to me. You see this, then I will more or less say, okay, give him the go ahead on what the case is. But he does a very, very, very good job. Even recently, I saw you wrote to the commissioner of police to release one of our athletes who was in the post. That's Kenny Hoswell, high jump record holder in Intercol, to compete, at the national championship and to go through training. So he does this stuff, and then yes, we get a response and stuff like that. So he plays a very crucial role. He plays the feet of many, and holds the backbone, the structure, right? We have people like Ken Thomas, right, who's there too as a support staff. He's a teacher at the St. Dominic's Roman Catholic School, and he is part of the support structure in this club, and he's always there. You call him, you need something, he's going to be there. He makes himself available. We have Joel Teleswat, who is basically is one of our counselor. So we have with the mental aspect of it. He's a qualified person in that field, and he definitely helps. With that is concern, right? We have people outside, who lend the support. We must big up Miss Houston, Shafana Mom. She helps a lot. With the club, support and stuff. She's always there. Sonia, big up. We have people outside in the diaspora. We had Celine Batiste, she very supportive. She made little contributions and stuff like that. Right, there's Antonio Buffett too as well. Has students, I think, yeah, GBSS, but we have that connection, so he will support too. Just the same as well. Do what you gotta do. Even Suka Bantan, he's one of them support. People that's some part of the organization. We have Sweet Tradition and stuff. We in the past do this stuff, and the staff and management there. If there's something I need to, I can count on them. We have Terry Noel as well from Najiko. It's very, very, very supportive. Very, very, very supportive. I can tell you. She knows things she'll have done in the past, and from time to time, yeah, we do get our support from the GBSS too, in whatever way they can. They lend their support. So they all form a little bit of the structure. It may not be as organized as it should, but at least for now it's working. you can see the results, but as I say, with better help, better things put together, we can see a lot more coming out from the South City Rising Stars.
Okay, there. Good to hear that. And a final comment now. Fernando John, who is the father of Nazir John, is saying, let me commend Mr. Cuffie and the job he has been doing. I'm looking forward to coordinating with you in the interest of developing track and field in Grenada. I'm sure there is a lot I can learn from you. Looking forward to meeting you at national championships. Thank you
Thank
very
you
much,
very
Lee.
much. Yeah.
Yeah, and I want to thank you also, Lee, for accepting the invitation to be on the program. And thanks. And the most I can do at this stage is to continue to support you, your club, and ultimately track and field in Grenada. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay,
Take
then.
care.
Thank. All right, then. Thank you
Good.
very much, folks.
All right.
As you gathered there, this was Lee Cuffie, live in St. George's, Grenada, from the Rising Stars Club. And, we learned quite a lot, from Lee regarding the struggles of his club, the challenges, all of that. And if it's, in any way you believe that you can support Rising Stars Club and, in whatever way, reach out to those folks and see what you can do. National championships will be on March 12th, based on the information. That's a Saturday, March 12th. It seems to be just one day at the National Stadium. So Rising Stars Club and all the other clubs with their athletes will be on showcase. So if you have the time, you can go out and support. I don't know much about the protocols, etc., but certainly I think the Grenada Athletic Association will be providing more information on that. Well, I don't really get information from them, so I just have to depend on. Well, that wasn't the case before. I don't know what has happened, but it appears that and I want to say that it appears that when you say things that folks do not like, they take it personal. And that's the problem we have with sports and sports administration in Grenada. And somehow we need to rid sport associations with these sort of people. They take things very personal and as if it belongs to them. So athletics belong to a certain few, and if you say something that they don't like, you put on the side. And this belongs to certain people, and no. I thought that you providing a service. You make yourself available to provide a service. Obviously, there will be critics, and when you put yourself in those positions, you have to accept the critics and whatever it is that goes with it. And you can respond to the critics if you want to, ignore the critics if you want to, but taking things personal, as if track and field belongs to you, and some of them making the comment that as long as I am there, this will not happen, and this, no. I don't think we're going anywhere with that. I mean, probably and possibly the reasons why some people have decided to, basically stay away from, and others, stay away from track and field, stay away from football, and other sports and sporting disciplines in Grenada because of the sort of pettiness sometimes, it's sort of petty, and if someone says something that you don't like, you take it personal and no. If we continue like that, I'm afraid that, we'll be making probably about 20 steps backward, folks. No, we have to move away from that. There are times people will say things that you do not like, and you have to move forward. You can ignore it if you want to. If you want, you can challenge them. But taking it personal and things like that, so no. I say that to say too that there's an issue I want to raise regarding, and that's my personal opinion, and regarding an athlete who returned from Jamaica. And for some reason, that athlete, had some problems and returned from Jamaica. And it appears that, again, there is a support system that can absorb counsel, provide support, whatever it is, to this athlete. Very talented athlete, you know. And I'm afraid if nothing is done, we will lose such talent. And we will continue to lose such talent. Again, it's all about because of the mentality. We have to change course. We have to change. We have to change course. We need people who are serious, committed, and dedicated to the development of the sport, not to their development of their personal development and their egos and things like that. So we need people who are dedicated and have the interest of heart of seeing our athletes develop. And when I say seeing our athletes develop, I mean all of our athletes and not some of our athletes or who they favored or who they think, are their friends. We have to move away from that. Sad enough, this is happening in Grenada. And I think I will come to the stage where I start calling names. We have to rid these people of sports in Grenada. This sort of personal and friendship thing and what and what. People must be awarded, people must be recognized, etc., on merit, and not based on friends, and based on because they don't they always agree with you. There are times people will disagree with you. I am certain there are a lot of people who disagree with me on what I say at times, but I don't take those things personal. We move on. Yeah, we move on. Folks, that's our program for this evening. Thanks for your indulgement. We have no program on Saturday because Saturday is my traveling day. Thank God. It is my traveling day. And as you heard that, I'm still in mourning because I lost a family member, and I'll be making, plans for the funeral arrangements in the next week or so. Thanks for all the, expression of condolences to me and my family, to my family and I. And I want to thank you for that. And, as I indicated, we have no program on Saturday because it is my traveling day. Hope to see some of you folks in person in the next few days. Thank you very much once again. Our last and final program from Denver in Colorado. Thank you very much, Simone. And, hopefully our next program will be either in New York or in Grenada. Yes. Thank you very much once again. And look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.